host instructor, Peter Kostis.
I'm a head instructor in the Golf Digest schools, and obviously have been around Bob Toski and Jim Flick and Davis Love and other of the instructors, and I suppose that whole synergism has had a big effect on my teaching. We work together so closely that no one has a chance to go off on a tangent and get wacko with his fundamentals.
I asked Peter if he had ever wanted to play on the tour himself.
I never really pursued playing on the tour. I enjoyed teaching. I'm realistic. I would probably be a good enough player to be in the top 50 on tour, but I was never good enough to be the best. And I suppose that's a driving force in my personality. And I knew I could be a better teacher than a player. And so even though I play still competitively now, teaching is still my main occupation.
Davis Love. Power. Hear the sound of the crowd?
Everybody kind of goes, oh, what was that? Get the radar out on it. Where'd that one go?
Great tee shot, Davis.
Thank you, Peter.
Well, there's a whole world of golfers out there who just absolutely kill to hit one tee shot in their life as far as you can. Where does your distance come from?
I think the key to my distance is making a big full shoulder turn that creates a large arc that makes the club head go a lot faster.
Well, you and I both know that distance is important, but how do you find it after you hit it so far?
Well, my key for direction is maintaining a good swing rhythm that controls the pace of my swing.
So you figure that rhythm and turn are your two keys.
Right.
I'll tell you what, let's hit some more and see if we can help these folks hit tee shots like you.
Okay.
Most of the time in playing golf, the ball is on the ground. As Davis demonstrates here with a short iron, you need to strike down to be a successful iron player. With a driver, however, the ball is teed up. This now necessitates a more level to slightly upward blow through the ball. So the first difference in becoming a good driver is to learn you strike down with an iron, strike level to slightly upward with a driver. The second consideration in becoming a good driver is accommodating yourself to the length of the club. Because the driver is the longest club in your bag, you'll notice that the swing plane will be a lot more around your body. The irons have the ball on the ground. The shafts are slightly shorter. Therefore, your swing will be a little more up and down, striking downward through the golf ball. With the driver being a longer club and the ball teed up, you'll feel a roundabout swing shape and a motion through the ball that is leveled to slightly upwards, leaving the tee in the ground. The pivot of your body creates the length of your arc. On the left, a smaller pivot and a shorter swing. On the right, a bigger pivot and a longer swing. With this iron shot, Davis's pivot is minimal because the swing length is shorter. With the driver, a bigger pivot and a bigger swing. From this overhead view, you can see how much farther the hands travel off the line of play. The driver is much deeper, much more off the line than the iron. This is created by a larger shoulder turn. Davis's shoulder turn is extraordinary, well over 90 degrees. Davis uses the conventional overlap grip, held mostly in the fingers. This helps set up a good posture position. Well balanced on the balls of the feet is the first consideration. A slight flex of the knees and a good bend from the hips allow for the proper arm hang. This posture position is the foundation for a good swing motion. From the face-on position, Davis has slightly more weight favoring his right side. This is accomplished by kicking in the right knee slightly and tilting the upper body to the right. The grip stays neutral over the golf ball. There are two parts to good aim, the club face and the body lines. The club face should aim down your line of play, with your shoulders, hips, knees, and feet parallel to that line. Good ball position starts by making sure the ball is positioned slightly inside the left heel. If a vertical line is drawn upwards from there, it should come to the left side of your head. From this overhead view, you can see how Davis positions his head slightly behind the golf ball and maintains it there throughout his swing. Speaking of the swing, it is largely controlled by the upper body. The hands, arms, and shoulders move the golf club. Swing the hands and arms back and around to the top, creating your arc. That swing motion must be supported, balanced, and controlled by the lower body movement. Swinging the club with the upper body and supporting it with the lower body is the ultimate. The proper blend of upper body movement and lower body support helps you create the correct swing path. As Davis demonstrates here, the correct path should be from inside to along the line and back to the inside. The proper inside-to-inside swing path can be seen beautifully from this vantage point. Davis swings the club back and around and up, forward from the inside, and then back to the inside again after impact. Inside and around going back, inside and around going forward. That same inside-to-inside swing can be altered slightly to produce different ball flights. To draw the ball, simply set your feet and shoulders to the right, continue your swing path inside to inside, and draw the ball. For the fade, we need to reverse the process. Setting the feet and shoulders slightly left, still trying to swing inside to inside, and now producing a fade.
Davis, have you always hit the ball a long way?
Yeah, from when I was playing junior golf and then started to play amateur golf and even college golf, I was always longer than the players that I was playing with.
Did you know why you were longer?
No, I really didn't. And not until I got older and understood the swing better and learned more about the game that I knew why I hit it farther. I just thought it was just something natural that I could do.
Davis, do you feel that you have to put on a show for people who expect you to hit the ball 300 yards?
No, I try not to. I try to tone it down when there's a lot of people that want to see me hit it a long way. And when they're expecting me to hit it long, I usually just try to make a nice smooth swing and just put it in the fairway, because that's the name of the game.
How much does it please you to hit the ball 300 yards?
I've gotten used to it. It pleases me to see it go in the fairway. That makes me real happy. As long as it's in the fairway, it's okay with me.
An often overlooked fundamental is simply teeing the ball properly. As Davis prepares to hit this tee shot, notice how he tees the ball such that the equator of the golf ball is even with the top of his driver. This is ideal. That tee height helps Davis set up the shape of his golf swing. If he were to tee it too high, he might fall back and swing up too much. If he were to tee it too low, it might force him to try and strike down as with an iron. In summary, leaving the tee in the ground is a key point to becoming a better driver. And to accomplish that, you must start off with a good, solid posture position, well balanced, allowing for a free motion of the swing. Flex at the knees, bend at the hips, and reach out far enough for the golf ball. Allow your swing to work around the body and inside to inside through the ball. Try watching these next few swings of Davis and focus on the full motion and free rhythm of his golf swing.
Tom Percher recalls a dramatic golf moment at the 1985 Buick Open.
Well, it was just really unbelievable. It's something that, I've never seen in golf before and, probably never will again. Lanny hit a 6-iron, just 10 yards or so behind my shot. And he flew it flew all the way. But it was just really unbelievable that 2 shots in a row would have that same result.
Another patented Percher golf swing.
Thanks, Peter.
Tom, I think you more than anybody else on tour has got the golf swing that possesses the most amount of grace and ease of motion, and certainly iron play is one of your strong suits. What keys do you have to help you with your iron play?
I think the main thing that you and I have worked on the last couple of years is turning around my spine. I had a tendency to sway off the ball and then sway back forward, and that produced some real inconsistent shots. And I think that this has really helped my consistency, just thinking about turning around my spine.
So turning around your spine has helped you with solid contact. How about your rhythm? How about the pace of your golf swing?
Well, I felt like I've always had pretty good rhythm, but I think the thing that helps me the most now is maintaining a constant grip pressure, not letting it get too tight and not letting it get too loose. Maintaining that constant pressure throughout the swing.
So if we can get our folks to turn around their spines and work on constant grip pressure, they'll be able to hit irons like you?
I don't see why not.
Let's try it. We'll study iron play by looking at a 3-iron, a 9-iron, and start off with a 6-iron. To set this up, we must take a look at the posture position first. Here Tom is well balanced on both feet with a 6-iron. His swing center is slightly behind the golf ball, and he has a slight inward angle of his right leg. This is very good posture to set up the proper backswing. At the top of the backswing, he has maintained good balance, created a full shoulder turn around his spine, and maintained his right leg position. This allows him to push off the right foot, strike down through the golf ball, and move on to his left side through impact. The result is a well-balanced follow-through position supported by the left leg. Don't forget, regardless of the club you're using, good posture is a fundamental. Well balanced toward the balls of the feet, good free arm hang, good bend from the hips. Aim your club face at the target and set your body parallel to that line. This will allow for a good free motion. As Tom swings here, notice how the shaft plane points at the golf ball halfway back, and he continues that plane all the way to the top. This is perfect. A good 3-iron swing is bigger, longer, and more powerful than a 6-iron swing. Tom starts with the same well-balanced posture position as with a 6-iron, but he now has to make a bigger move in his backswing to create that power. At the top of his backswing, more weight is favored on his right side. The angle of his right leg is maintained, and the club gets back to parallel. This position allows him to move forcefully through the ball, well to his left side at impact. A pushing off with the right leg is key to that fact. The same well-balanced follow-through position as with the 6-iron is evidenced here. So with a 3-iron, a bigger move to the right side, a full free follow-through position. When done correctly, you will see a thin divot occurring in front of the golf ball. With the 9-iron, the divot is still in front of the golf ball, but much deeper. Your posture position is what allows for this. Here Tom sets up with his weight much more favoring his left side, his swing center even or slightly in front of the golf ball. As he moves to the top of his backswing, he still maintains more weight favoring the left side. The club doesn't quite get to parallel. From here, he can strike downward and forward through the golf ball, pushing off with the right foot to create the divot. His follow-through position is still well balanced. From this top of the backswing position with the 9-iron, notice how Tom's swing is slightly more vertical than it was with the 6 or the 3-iron. This enables him to strike down on the golf ball even more crisply and maintain a higher degree of backspin and hence more accuracy. I suppose if somebody were to say to me, what golf swing do you like the best on tour, it would probably be Tom's. I think it has the proper blend of all aspects, the proper blend of rhythm, of motion, and of good technical quality.
Well, the thing I think about most is I don't try and force every iron club. It's more of an accuracy tool. If you want to hit a power club, you're going to think about the woods, and when you get down into the 7, 8, 9, then it's more of an accuracy type shot. I think what's important to remember is to not try and hit your shot to the max every time you pull out the club. I think if you can hit an 8-iron 150 yards to the very max, try hitting a 7-iron and just being nice and smooth with it. I think you'll get better results doing that.
The smoothness that we see in Tom's golf swing starts with a beautiful free motion of the arms, a turning of the shoulders around the spine, and good upper body control. Tom's lower body action is also superb. Here we see Tom waggling the club and adjusting his feet, sensing a well-balanced, lively position from which he can start his motion. After one last waggle, Tom moves beautifully from his left foot to his right in the backswing, and then pushes from the right back to the left on the forward swing. From this overhead view, we can see how beautifully he does swing around his spine. At the top of his backswing, his spine position is the same as it was at address. From here, he moves downward and forward through the ball and on to a left side follow-through. If your iron play is inconsistent, check these points. Maybe your stance is too open, causing you to fade the ball. Or perhaps you've set up to the ball with too closed a stance, causing you to hook the ball severely. If you don't turn correctly around your spine, maybe you reverse pivot. That is, hang left at the top of your backswing. Or perhaps you're one of those golfers who sways, moving well to the right at the top of the backswing. Tom's beautiful swing rhythm starts a lot sooner than you might think. By preparing his thoughts before he gets over the ball, Tom can use his pre-swing rhythm to preview his in-swing rhythm. Here he approaches the golf ball, starts by aiming his golf club, checking his aim with his eyes, adjusting his posture, and then continuing that motion uninterrupted into his swing. So let's summarize the fundamentals of good iron play. Here we see Tom at address with a 6-iron. Well balanced, swing center over the golf ball, firmly planted and ready to make a good backswing. With the 3-iron, the ball would be slightly forward of this position. With the 9-iron, the ball would be slightly back. At the top of the backswing, he has maintained a good solid right leg position, turned beautifully around the spine, and positioned the club at the top so that it is parallel to his line of play. From this position, Tom is prepared to move off his right foot and strike downward and forward through the golf ball, creating a descending blow. Let's sit back now and watch a series of Tom's golf swings, and I'd like for you to pay attention to the rhythm, the grace, and the beautiful turn that he employs.
Craig Stadler, one of golf's most talented short game players.
Nice shot, Craig.
Thanks, Peter.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's so many golfers who are just so afraid of that shot. What do you do to eliminate fear from pitch shots over bunkers?
Well, the one thing I concentrate is on where I want to land the ball. This shot here, we've got about 20 yards over the bunker, another 10 yards to the hole. I pick a spot about halfway between the bunker and the hole, which I want to fly the ball to, make sure it lands there. The bunker is totally blocked out in my mind. It doesn't even enter into the picture.
Obviously, solid contact is important also. What do you do to ensure good contact in terms of swing fundamentals?
Well, I think the most important thing on this shot is you want to keep your weight all the way on your left side. You don't want to weight shift. It's such a short swing here. You don't want to make a weight shift and perhaps take a chance of getting under it. Just keep your weight on your left side, real short takeaway, down through the ball. Make sure the back of your left wrist is stiff throughout the shot, keeping it all the way through to the target.
Good. Let's hit a few more and see if we can help these folks with their wedge play.
Okay.
Since most golfers miss more greens than they hit, good wedge play is extremely important in lowering your scores. From short wedge shots, like the one Craig just demonstrated, all the way back to a full wedge shot, as seen here. Since hand action is very important in good wedge play, you will want to use your normal full swing grip. Here's Craig's, a classic example of a beautiful grip. The setup is a slight modification of your normal full swing setup. The ball is played slightly farther back and the weight favoring the left side. When you get to the top, the weight wants to stay favoring the left side with no lateral move to the right. This allows for us to be able to strike downward and forward through the shot, creating a good descending blow and spinning the ball up into the air. To better illustrate the difference between wedge play and little chips around the green, Gary Koch is showing us a one-lever motion, while Craig is employing the normal two-lever swing of his sand wedge. Gary stays firm through the shot with no recocking of the wrist. Craig, however, has released fully into a complete follow-through position. Let's also compare Craig's wedge swing with Tom's 3-iron swing. At address, Craig stays more over the golf ball, favoring somewhat more his left side than his right. This is because Craig's swing is shorter, more restricted. There's not as much body movement. This gives him an opportunity to stay over the golf ball and be prepared to move quickly back and through the golf ball at impact. Because the swing is shorter, there is less body movement involved. Both players, however, still maintain that well-balanced follow-through position. From this down-the-line view, we can see how Tom sets up to the golf ball more squarely, while Craig employs a more open position. This open position helps him swing the club on a more vertical plane, which will also help create a better descending blow. Speaking of descending blow, the action of the feet and knees is also tremendously important. Too many golfers stay flat-footed. But watch Craig. He moves his knees beautifully downward and forward to support the downward and forward motion of the club through the ball. From the down-the-line view, we can see that Craig's right knee points toward the target at the completion of his swing. This results in a crisp divot in front of the golf ball. Down and through are key words to getting a crisp divot. Craig's a funny guy. He's a really neat guy, and He probably has the most hand-eye coordination. He has a good sense of touch, great touch for a big man. He has great touch for any man. And his swing is very individualistic and expressive of his own personality, which I think is the key to being a good player, by the way.
I asked Craig how he developed that touch.
Well, I picked up a lot of it as a kid. I worked on the driving range at home at La Jolla for about 4 or 5 years, picking up balls. And in the evenings, I just walk around the side. We had a lot of trees and fences. 2 of the 3 sides were fenced, and the other side had trees in it, and chip them around trees and over trees, and you know, try to get as close to the fence and get it over the fence with a wedge as we could, and just knocking them back in. And I think they're not shots you're ordinarily going to play, but they allowed me to get a real good touch, and more so, I think, than I would have learned out here on the chipping greens we have on tour, which is just a green and a bunker and whatever.
Craig, like most good players, presets the trajectory of his shots with his address position. Whether it's low, medium, or high, he predetermines it by setting up properly rather than trying to force it with a swing shape change. For the low shot, the ball is played back in the stance with the hands in the swing center well forward. For the medium shot, the ball is approximately in the center of his stance with his swing center and hands over the ball. And for the higher shot, which is also the more dangerous one, Craig sets up with the ball forward and his weight favoring the right side of his body and the hands a little bit back. The distance of your shots cannot be predetermined, but rather must be controlled with your swing. On this 30-yard shot, Craig's hands don't go back very far, but a full angle is formed so that the shaft is pointing at the golf ball. Now he can accelerate downward and forward through the golf ball and continue on into a good follow-through position. Acceleration is the key here. As we look at this lower 30-yard shot, notice the stance is slightly open. The swing length is still short to allow for a good, crisp, downward move through the golf ball. When faced with a bunker like this, most amateurs try to lift and scoop the ball in the air. If you want to hit it higher, just follow Craig's lead. Take the club back a little bit longer and a little bit more vertical. But from that position, still concentrate on striking down. Don't try to lift the ball up in the air. Remember, accelerate downward. For the 50-yard wedge shot, the same rules apply. The only difference is now we're going to swing the club slightly farther back. You still set up over the golf ball. Now your arms go back to approximately 9 o'clock. A full wrist cock is still in evidence to allow Craig the opportunity to strike down and through the golf ball. Remember, don't let the bunker scare you. Commit yourself, set your club and body in position, swing it back, and strike down. For the 70-yard shot that we're going to see here, the swing is simply a longer version of the 30 and 50-yard shots. From this top of the backswing position, we can see Craig has an ample amount of swing to propel the ball to the target, but he hasn't moved off the ball and can still strike down and through. Even though this shot may scare some of you, if you employ the right fundamentals and execute them, the reward can be worth the risk. For some of you faint-hearted golfers out there, though, there is a safety shot you can use. Simply take an 8 or maybe even a 9-iron and use your 30 or 50-yard pitch shot. Aim it well to the right, in this case of the bunker, and let the ball just land comfortably on the front of the green and roll back toward the middle. In summary, you want to make sure that you strike down on the golf ball to spin it up in the air. No scooping or lifting action is required here. And to help you with that, your setup is key. Let your setup predetermine your trajectory. Stay over the ball with your backswing. Don't slide to the right. Then you can strike downward and forward through the ball. Trust your fundamentals. Trust your abilities. And have some fun.
Gary Koch has this putt to beat Gary Hallberg and win the Andy Williams San Diego Classic.
Every time I turn around, you're making another putt.
Oh, thanks, Peter. You know that putting's always been the strongest part of my game.
Is there really a secret to better putting?
Well, Peter, I don't think there is any one secret. I think it's good basic fundamentals. I think distance control is extremely important. And I think directional control is important.
All right, let's see if we can help people putt like Gary Koch.
Sounds great.
I think every time Gary sets foot on the greens, he's trying to make putts. And that should be a major objective for all of us. Whether it's a short 3-footer or a longer 20 or 25-footer, you must organize your preparation and your stroke towards the objective of making the putt. And the fundamentals don't really change from 3-foot to 20-foot putts. You must set up correctly, you must stroke the ball, and you must read the green to make your putts. Posture is very important. A key ingredient is making sure the arms and the shaft form a straight line. To do this, you'll have to bend forward from the hips, and also as a byproduct, your eyes will be over the ball. As you look at the posture position from face on, Gary's weight is evenly balanced. The ball is positioned just outside his left ear, almost underneath the sternum. Let's take a closer look at Gary's grip. Since this is a one-lever action, Gary does not use his normal golf grip, but rather his putting grip is one where the shaft runs through the palms of both hands, with the palms of both hands facing each other. The back of Gary's left hand is square with the putter face and also looks at the hole. During Gary's stroke, he tries to maintain this relationship and doesn't want the back of the left hand and wrist to break down and cup, but rather stay firm. Aiming the putter face is tremendously important as a first step to making your putt. Here you can see how Gary's putter is aimed squarely at the hole. Even on longer putts, you work from the putter face first and then align your body parallel to that putter face. To strike the ball at the bottom of the arc, as you would like for it to happen, you must have the ball in the right position. Gary's ball is placed perfectly, right underneath the sternum, so that he can strike the ball at the bottom of his arc. To get these pre-swing fundamentals organized correctly, you must start by seeing properly. Gary uses his eyes to sense his line of play, makes a practice stroke to feel his stroke, then walks in and again uses his eyes to check first his blade position, then his body position, making sure that the feet, knees, hips, and shoulders are square, takes one more glance down the target line, and then strokes the putt. To ensure good directional control, you must make sure that the putter face returns to impact in the same position that it started. And as an aid to better distance control, be prepared to vary the tempo of your putts. Pendulum-like for medium putts, shorter and more aggressive through on shorter putts, and longer back with a softer action through the ball on longer putts.
Peter Kostis and Gary Koch have worked together since 1981.
Gary's a hard worker. Originally, when he turned professional, he was known as all putt, no swing. And he's worked very, very hard, and I think he's one of the better ball strikers on tour now. I think his game has become a whole lot more well-rounded.
Gary, have you always been a good putter?
Yes, I would say so. I started playing golf at a very young age, 8 or 9 years old, and spent an awful lot of time on my short game, chipping and putting. As I got a little bit older, I used to play a lot with kids that were 17, 18, 16 when I was only 13 or 14, and the only way I could really keep up with them was by good chipping and putting. Also, when I was younger, it didn't cost anything to go to the putting green and practice putting, whereas to go out and hit some balls, I'd have to pay for that.
Having a fundamentally correct putting stroke is only half of being a good putter. The other half comes from knowing where you are and what your objective is when you're on the green. We divide the green into 3 zones. First being the green zone, 0 to 3 feet. An area where you should make the putt, where you want to be aggressive, and where directional control is much more important than distance control. From here, we move to the yellow zone. It's just like a traffic signal. Yellow means caution. This zone is about 3 to 20 feet. Even though we're still trying to make this putt, we're doing it with a degree of caution. The stroke is pendulum style. And direction, as well as distance, are evenly important. Anything outside the yellow zone we call the red zone. Danger. We're not really trying to make these putts. We're simply trying to get it inside the green zone. And to do that, you need a longer stroke, and you must spend way more time concentrating on distance than on directional control. Let's review. The green zone. Short, accelerated motion. Take your time and line it up, and go ahead and stroke firmly through the ball. If it rolls past, no big deal. In the yellow zone, to make our putts, we must have the perfect blend of speed and direction. Take your time before you stroke the putt and concentrate on your aim. During your stroke, concentrate on your speed. If the line is too high and the speed is correct, you may miss it on the high side. If the line is correct and the speed isn't quite enough, you may miss it on the low side. But when you get the proper blend of line and speed, bingo. The red zone is the danger zone. It's the area on the green where most of us 3-putt. What can we do to avoid that problem? Well, first, have the right objective. Simply try to put the ball inside the green zone. Get the ball in position to make your next putt. To do that, you must realize that distance control is much more important than directional control. I've seen way too many golfers work so hard on their line that they hit the ball 10 feet short or 20 feet long, dead on line, but also dead in that three-putt zone. As Gary hits these putts, notice how long and soft his stroke is. No quick, jerky moves here. Preset your aim as in other putts. Focus on your line, but during your stroke, concentrate on distance. Who knows? You may get lucky. How many times have you sat behind a putt, and there, right before your eyes, you could see the line beautifully? You stood up, stroked the putt, it followed that same exact line, and presto, a birdie. Well, if you'd like to cultivate that feeling more often, try this exercise. Put down a series of balls on an imaginary line. Walk up to that first ball and just tap it in. As you go back to each subsequent ball, simply try to putt it over the previous ball's spot with the right speed. If you've chosen the right line, can hit the ball over the right spot, and happen to have the right speed, you'll make the putt. That's not important, however. What is important is to organize your thoughts so that you can set up correctly, line up your putter correctly, and try to roll the ball over the right intermediate spot with the right speed. After you've putted all but the last ball, take time to assess your line. As you walk back behind the ball, reevaluate what you've done. Pick a new line if necessary, and go through your whole routine, walking up to the ball, making a practice stroke or two, to get the proper feel for distance, then slide on in, aim it, and stroke it, and have some fun.
Guy's a magician. Gee whiz.
Perfect.
Peter, is there anything new on the horizon for the golf swing?
Well, you know, the pendulum always swings from one side to the other. And I would say that a few years ago, there was an emphasis on a, quote, modern swing, which had a weaker left-hand grip and bigger body motion and not so much hands involved. And I think I see a trend towards back to what I would call a traditional golf motion. The swing is a little less upright, a little more hand and arm involvement, and a little more around the body rather than quite so vertical of a swing motion, say, like what Jack Nicklaus developed. On behalf of the players and myself, we've enjoyed bringing this tape to you. And whether or not you achieve the excellence of these tour players, please accept the game as a game and enjoy it to its fullest. Have fun, and remember to keep smiling.